For coming to my channel. I am Jackie Horton, your wellness and health specialist. I am here to promote wellness and good health.
The real you is breathing down your neck, begging you to manifest. It's got to be a lifestyle change. When you shift your paradigm, when you shift your thinking, only then what you see in your head, you will hold in your hand.
Hi, I am Jackie Horton, your virtual wellness and health specialist. Welcome to Friday Village Circle Talk. Thanks for joining me today. I wanted to check in with you since it's at the end of the week. A lot has gone on, a lot of things to talk about, but I'm going to narrow it down to just a few things. Sorry about the baby, making sounds and so forth, but that's kind of how it goes in the village. You hear babies, you hear people talking, you hear driving, you hear everything. So to start the time off, first and foremost, I want to thank you for joining me today. My whole objective for this channel is to promote wellness and health, good health, to amplify life-standing strategies that we can use and keep going with, and to uplift those things that we have in our lives that are positive right now that we can build upon. And having communication, open dialogue, and supportive listening is one way that we can uplift positive thinking, positive behaviors, and positive outcomes. All right, so where should we begin? So let's start with the student loan forgiveness program under Biden and Harris administration. Once again, I just want to applaud them for their effort and the time they're putting into this, getting different senators and representatives to get involved in this, because I do see and do read that there is, real steps that they're trying to make to provide relief for millions of us who have student loans until we die. And so one of the things that I was reading recently, about it being struck down by the Supreme Court by a 6-3 vote, is to to suspend some up to at least 43 million Americans' loans who make less than $125,000 a year, or work in a career that's that just does not have a very high salary range to reach to. So that was struck down. But interest start kicking back in on September 1st. I was praying that they would just kill the daily interest and just give us a chance to get caught up, but so much for that. And so with that, people should be getting in contact with their service provider for their loans and begin to look at different packages to relieve some of the debt. I think about 2 years ago, I did the student relief program because I do work in a nonprofit, and I have worked in a nonprofit and so forth for so many years. And I don't know if I saw anything that changed. I just saw that I just submitted some paperwork and put down the number of years that I've worked. So I'm hoping that, that discussion I can have, and I'll give you guys some feedback on what happens with that once I, know if anything happened as a result of me sending in the paperwork. And also my organization sent in their tax ID, to support that where I work was a nonprofit. So, the one thing that they're recommending that we use is the new income-driven repayment program. What it does is it reduces the discretionary gaps that we may experience, and it also prevent credit bureau companies to come after us and so forth. So, there's some things that at least we know that is being managed. I mean, there was an article that I read about a week or two ago that said people didn't even know, nobody was managing it. They may hire somebody, and then that same person or that same group weren't even involved anymore. So that's good. We do want to have a go-to to manage this money that we're supposed to be sending in, because what they found in another article was that people were still paying, and they had finished paying. So there was a refund that was sent to those people as well, which I was applauding Biden and Harris administration for that, because I'm like, yes, do right by people. We want to be done right, and so do right. I think the only drawback about any of the student loans program is that, people went to school to really contribute to society and improve society. They also worked hard in school to, you know, to be an established, productive member of society and to also make good money. And I just feel like this is just such a downer for people who are getting started. I can't tell you the number of people who I've met and come across in different walks of life who are, really considering becoming a professional TikToker and a professional YouTuber and a professional, you know, retail, owner that do their own designs. And, I applaud anybody that wants to be an entrepreneur. However, it takes a long time for you to make money in certain fields. It just takes a long time. And if you're not connected to the right groups or people, I mean, it's just, you may never make what you're thinking you're making. And even though, we have people who are saying they're business owners, but, I do believe that, but, business owners really are people who, who have paid employees, who have W-2, forms, with their company's name on it. And so, if you are a solo proprietor, which is what I am at this very moment, I am building my business to be able to hire people eventually. That's the whole goal of becoming a business person. I am not trying to be the entrepreneur, the CEO, and the full-time professional employee either, at all of those at the same time. So just thinking about that, the animosity that some Americans feel about the student loan program is like, this is what we needed to get into these different, sectors. And here we are, dying with student loans and having our children having to delay school or going to different schools because we are saying, please don't put yourself into this bag. But to close out with that, I am thankful that Biden and his administration are keeping track of it. I mean, Senator Elizabeth Warren, from day one, she's been on top of this. And then Representative Ayanna Presley, and I believe Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has, been very much vocal about it. So I'm applauding that. All right. So did anybody see the Republican candidate debate? I did watch it for a few minutes here and there, and then I went to look at some of the reflections on it, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting, right? Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I sort of have kind of had some, some ideas that I would think Chris Christie should be considered the nominee for the Republican Party, and go from there. I think the other people, DeSantis, we know, we wouldn't mix at all, but I can't think of anybody else that I would really want to say stood out during a debate. I think Tim Scott, he tries his best. And I just think, society is sort of mean to him. And I think he's also said some things that did not sit well with us, African Americans, Black people, whatever you define yourself as, because it sounded like he minimized struggles and real situations that not only occurred in the past. And I am not talking about slavery people, but I am talking about, in general, the walk of life and the walk of, and the development of institutions and policies and laws as it relates to race in this country. So yeah, Tim, I'm glad you're there. I'm glad there was a diverse group of candidates. They took that from the Democratic Party, because at one point we only saw white men. So they did took heed in that, like, oh, we need to diversify the candidate pool to reflect America. I think two things that made me laugh. One is that I kind of laughed that Donald Trump was still the clear front runner for the nominee. Again, America is very confusing to me. I have no idea how he could be, but there was one poll that was taken, and I was trying to read it. It was so funny. It stated that most Americans, I can't find it. It said most Americans do want an election official to follow, the laws of the land, but they still support Donald Trump. And I'm just going like, you know what? I think one of the things in America that's really, really definitely going to be, I don't know, the demise, ongoing demise, is that we are so caught up in, our own individual wants and what we get out of having a candidate like Trump, and a bunch of feelings, and also race related things around that. Yeah, you can disagree or agree. That's what the Friday Village Circle is about. Is just kind of talking things through and listening to things and hearing how people feel about certain things. So that was interesting. Him in the front runner, and then the second thing that was so funny when the first question was asked was, you all took an oath that whoever wins the nominee party for the Republican candidate, you will support him. And they waited till Vivek raised his hand, and then everybody just kind of slowly raised their hand. And I'm like, it must be hard to be in leadership because, if you've ever been in leadership, there are times you have to sit in a room and you got to kind of go along and hopefully find openings to remedy any problems that has arisen from that and probably will arise, because it always does. So those were the 2 points. I did appreciate Chris Christie's remark about, how a candidate in that office needed to conduct themselves. It was well said to me. But that's me. I have been seeing Vivek in different interviews, and you have to watch him yourself. Yeah. You have to watch him yourself. But anyway, I'll say enough about that. That's enough I'll say about that. The other thing is that I thought was really interesting was the auction for BET was removed by Paramount because of the reason, because there were several reasons, and I would just defer you to look at Roland Martin's debrief on that. It was quite interesting, and it's quite interesting about what we do watch as viewers on any TV, movies, and so forth, and why the 3 candidates who were interested in purchasing BET did not go up on their offers. But I would prefer you kind of do your own research on that, and I learned a lot from Roland Martin in talking about that. So yeah, it kind of says something about us and how we think, and what we find to be interesting. So that's kind of like that's the point that I want to leave with that. And then the last thing I would say that the trial date for Donald Trump. His lawyers are pushing for 2026, and the Congress and so forth are saying let's do it earlier. The prosecutors in the Congress, let's do it early as quickly as January 2024. So I've just been watching that. I saw his mug shot, and sometimes I just think this guy just likes to have fun because he's interesting. And he was like, like he was a pouting kid, and it's just interesting what's going on in America at this time. So just throwing out some things to think about and talk about. If you would like to share your thoughts in the chat group, that's totally fine. Hope to see some of that. I plan to have a great weekend. It's the weekend before school starts for at least some of the area schools in DC. And I really hope every administrator and every teacher have a different year where they have a lot of protection, a lot of provision, and a lot of passion for the work. Any direct service fields at this point is really, really requires a lot of pouring out. And I hope our systems and our different, organizations learn to pour back into those who are standing and doing all this direct services work. And remember that the only way that we can continue to be accomplished and to be successful if you pour into the people who are there doing the work. So thanks for joining me today. This is Friday Village Circle Talk. Hope to talk to you soon, and I will see you Monday for Mental Health Monday. Be a blessed day. Be a blessing and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.